Hey, welcome to Dan's Model Works. It is part 5 of the Entex Sabre jet. Actually, the Sabre dog, because it's an F-86D. You can tell by the giant nose on it. And we are back at the hobby bench as opposed to the swirling chaos at the main workshop. Because that's where Natasha does her work, and that's where I'm working on the 1970s Dodge Wrecker. So, where are we here? Now, first of all, some people might be saying, God, how come it's taken so long to do another modeling posting? Basically, I got back from vacation. Me and the kids did some traveling, that sort of thing, and then it was back to the grind of 7 nights a week working. And I just pretty much came home from work, and I would just crash and go to sleep as opposed to actually doing anything other than existing. Just didn't really feel like getting into modeling. Actually, I did want to do some modeling, just didn't seem to have the energy. So this is where we left off. You can see we've got the cockpit has been, we won't say super detailed, but has had some detail added to it. And you can see where we've got all of the primer on the various spots that have been had filler put on them. And it's not as tragic as it looks. So if we flip it over, you can see this is the resin copy of the engine that we installed last time. Here's the actual engine itself, which will be going on to an engine stand. And as I mentioned last time, I somehow or other, I doubt that when you looked up the wheel wells, you could see the engine. I would think there would be some sort of a bulkhead in there, but it looks cool, so let's go with it. If we look in the tailpipe here, you can see there is a resin tailpipe, because once again, if you're leaving the engine on the stand, this would just be a giant empty hole. So I've got to just basically go over this and figure out, is there anything else main fuselage wise that I need to do before I can paint this? And what I'm going to be doing is using Tester's Chrome on it, which is a really, really shiny silver. I have tried using various metallizer type paints, and the extra sheen they give you, I know, it just doesn't seem to really be worth the extra hassle. So what I will be doing is, once I've got this painted chrome, I'm going to be picking out various panels and making them either silver or aluminum or steel, just to kind of give that patchworky effect that bare metal aircraft usually have. So my goal for this particular episode is basically, let's get it all painted. I don't think we're going to get to decals during this episode, just because if I take it all the way to decals, this episode is going to be like probably 2 or 3 weeks later down the line, and I would like to get this one posted and start working on the Wrecker again for a week or so. So that's where we are. So this is a Dan screwed up, not the kit screwed up moment. As you may have recalled from a previous episode, the console I made, the instrument panel, and I didn't know exactly the size or shape. Now, as you can see, there's a little bit of white here where I've shaved off the corners, because otherwise this didn't want to sit in place. Well, it sits in place now, but there's kind of a significant step here. It's difficult to see. There, now you can see a significant step. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do about that. I'm tempted to, well, obviously after I touch up the paint on the instrument panel there, but I'm tempted to glue it on and simply just ferret in using some filler, because this doesn't need to be removed at some later date. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do there. The rest of the canopy doesn't fit too badly. If I put it on here, it's not an amazing fit, but it's at least in the ballpark. So, and these weird notchy things here, they won't be seen because they're below the level of the framing. So that's our windscreen glued in place, and I'm not really going to be doing anything underneath it, so it's no big deal. It's going to get glued in place. Not only that, the canopy framing is well defined, so I shouldn't have any problems masking it. What I will be doing is putting a big chunk of masking tape over it to protect it while I ferret into the front here. Because as you can see, there's a, hopefully you can see, there's a little bit of a step there. So I've got that glued on, and I'm actually going to be heading over to my mom's house to work on the van that's over there, the caravan that used to belong to my dad before he passed away, that we have to do massive amounts of body work to put it back on the road. Which, if you watched one of the previous videos saying, why am I not doing much modeling, or something like that, you'll know what's going on with that. So sometimes you have to sort of say, okay, I'm going to do this one little step before I go and do something else. So I think I'm pretty much ready for painting here. Basically, I'm going to do Chrome Silver Testers Model Master Chrome Silver. And I've got my canopy. The main portion here is just mask all glued on. And as you can see, I've got it masked with some masking tape. On the underside here, I've just stuffed some toilet paper into the landing gear bays. And I'll touch up any green I got to do after that. Now that'll be just the first step. After that, I'm going to be using various other silvers to pretty much just break up the super bright finish that the chrome silver is going to give us. There's going to be some regular silvers, there's going to be some steel, some aluminum, that sort of thing, and I might even put a couple patches of bare metal foil on here just to give it that sort of range of sheens and silvers that you find on a natural metal airplane. So we'll see how that turns out. Okay, sports fans, here we go. It is all painted in chrome silver. And boy, is it bright. And boy, did it show some of the spots where my filling was not quite what it should have been. Behind the cockpit here, you can see a little bit where I should have feathered it out a little bit more. Same thing, these two spots there. And this panel here, not quite as nice as I would have liked to have been. But some of these panels are going to be painted in a less shiny silver paint anyway. So I think this panel here is going to get painted regular silver. This panel as well. At the back here, these two segments here, I think I'm going to repaint in steel. And I might end up repainting this one in silver as well, just because, like I said, I'm not real happy with how the filler was. So I'm going to give that a light sanding, and that'll be one of the panels that gets repainted a little bit less shiny. So I'm trying as hard as possible not to handle it any more than necessary. You should be able to see that I've painted the slats aluminum, and I've hit other panels with both aluminum and steel. And the underside here, you can see that the last three segments have been painted in steel, basically to give it a little bit of variation in its sheen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit this with some gloss coat, hopefully seal it all in before we move on to decals and final assembly. And back from the spray booth again, except it's had a coat of Tamiya gloss clear applied to it, so that way I'm not leaving fingerprints all over it all the time. And you can see we still have a difference of sheen on some of the parts, because I basically just picked some panels at random and brush painted some either steel or aluminum in there. You can see this area here is all steel, just basically because that area on jets tends to be a little discolored because of the heat. So I can finally move to the last phase of this, which is going to be decaling, which I always think of as the icing on the cake. And of course putting landing gear and all the other fiddly bits on. But I really want to get a modeling video posted, even though this series isn't nearly as popular as the truck. I still want to get this done. So this will be it for this particular episode. And thanks for watching. Until next time, just keep on modeling.